huge deals throughout the store, including hot buys now up to 50% off. The President's Day sale going on now, only at Ashley.
Every day, most of us wake up to an alarm clock. Our feet hit the floor, the coffee perks, maybe the bed gets made before it seems like we rush out the door into what often feels like another chaotic start to the day. But life and the success it promises is within our grasp once we embrace some basic habits. So Matt Hullander probably knows a lot about those chaotic mornings. Certainly he knows a lot about life's successes, and he's combined those lessons that he's learned into a book called The Daily Climb. Good to see you.
You too, Julie. Thanks for having me. I did bring you your signed copy, so that's
Yay.
yours.
I'm very excited. So, you know, I was doing a little bit of reading about The Daily Climb. And at first I kind of thought it was going to be more of like a true life guide. But it's also a great guide, isn't it, Matt, for anybody who's looking to grow their business or fulfill a dream?
It can relate to business or individuals, and it's not your typical self-help book. It's a lot of stories about my life and lessons I learned, but we take a new approach on, for example, goal setting. We challenge that in the way it's traditionally been taught. I challenge the last 100 years of self-help gurus, really. And then there's principles in the book. We talk about priorities and time management, and we talk about vision and having a peer group, or what I call a tribe. And then really the underlying principle throughout the whole book is, you know, the book of Luke says, to whom much is given, much is required. To me, that can also mean what goes around comes around. And if you wake up with an open mind and you're not closed-minded as to what the day might bring, I guess more good things can come to you. So.
That scripture is a big one for you, because that's the third time you've quoted that on this show.
Yeah, it is. It's the way I try to live my life, and there's a lot of that underlying in the book, but there's a lot of other great principles too, and there's some humor. It's fun.
So how much of it, because I haven't read the book, okay, but I'm going to go back to your scripture in Luke, to whom much is given, much is required. There's also a way of trying to then focus then on, gee, how much have I been given? Perspective matters, right, Matt?
Yeah, and you know, when you go into the day with an open mind that I'm going to do good and good things will come back, you know, and that can be, that can come in several ways, but I've seen it, especially with the book, really impacting other people, which brings me a lot of joy. I've had people reach out from all over the country. I just had a gentleman from Knoxville reach out. He said his wife's struggling with cancer, and my book meant a lot to their family, so I get a lot of joy from that. And I think, you know, I've been touring the country the last few weeks doing book signings, and we're now on Amazon, ebook, paperback, hardback. If you want to listen to my country accent, read it. We're on Audible and Apple and Awsound, or wherever you buy audio books, but I encourage everybody to do it. And our proceeds are going to raise awareness for teenage suicide.
Well, I was going to ask you about the audience that you're finding attracted to the book, because we both have well, still teenagers,
Sure.
For a little while longer. They grow up in a time where it seems like they kind of can feel not empowered in their life. The world's a scary place.
Yeah, I think it reaches all age groups, really. I've got impact. It's funny, my daughter and your daughter have a class together at UTC, but her and her boyfriend were driving on a trip recently, and they listened to it nonstop and called me as soon as they finished, and they really took a lot from it. And then I have people my parents' age reaching out, so I don't think there's a specific age group. These principles apply to everybody, and I think it'll help, you know, our youth growing up too.
Yeah. How did it happen?
I had a cancer scare about 2 years ago. Most people don't know about. I go into detail in the first principle about that, but after a bone marrow biopsy, they told me it'd take 5 days to know if I had leukemia or not. And those 5 days changed my life. And so I realized, I won't draw out the ending, I didn't have leukemia. It was what is called Felty syndrome, which I can live with, but the real diagnosis I got was I wasn't living life on purpose. And so I wanted to share that with the world, and took me several months, but I wrote the book and wrote it pretty quick and got it published, and now it's out for hopefully millions to read one day.
When you were writing it, did you learn about yourself in the process?
I did. It helped me a lot, especially when you look at where you focus your time and what your priorities are, and that's a lot of the book. And then you think about what useless time we spend. You know, the average American spends 4.5 hours on their phone every day, so it's not a time management book, but we hit that in one of the principles. So It taught me a lot. I actually listen to my own book. Now I'm also at the pulpit and in the congregation, because I can tell you how to do it, but I'm not great at some of it myself, so it's a good reminder for me too.
Okay, well, to that point then, you need that fellowship of people, right, to support you in your life. So this would be a great book for like a bunch of girls' friends to read, or any friend.
We've had a lot of groups do that. In fact, a lot of companies are buying the book in bulk. Yesterday I went and shipped 136 books to a company in Chicago that they're giving out at an annual conference. I'm speaking at a few of those conferences that are coming up. But yeah, I talk about a tribe, and they say you're the average of the 5 people you spend time with, and how important that support group is, and that's one whole principle in the book. So yeah, it's great for any group or Bible study, or a girl trip or whatever.
Right, so when you sat down to begin to write it, and kind of took a new walk in your career, I guess you had your own group of supportive people in your life encouraging you.
I did. I've been fortunate. A lot of people have really supported me along the way. I'm sure there are critics out there. I also talk about in the book, when I went through that phase of my life and wrote the book, I also, when you think about priorities and time management, you think about what you need to cut out. And some of them are people. And some of it's what you spend your time with. But the people I've surrounded myself have been super encouraging, and I expect I have high hopes for the number of people it can impact and who it can reach, and the money that we're raising for the Jason Foundation.
Yeah, and that's the name of the foundation that works against teenage suicide.
Yeah, they're based out of Nashville, and we've my wife and I, Jenny, have supported them for years, and they raise awareness and prevention of teenage suicide, and they're in all 50 states. They have really low overhead. I'm a big supporter of them, and I've seen firsthand. And I tell one of the stories in the book of how they've saved a teenager's life. So we're big supporters of them, and so all the proceeds during the launch for the next few months are going to support them.
I will say, I told you we should probably kind of be careful how we phrase this, but in early February you're doing your first of many book signings to come, but the first one will be in Nashville. Your publisher's in Nashville.
So my publisher's actually here, Foresight Publishing in Chattanooga. They did a great job.
Okay.
I've done book signings around the country the last 2 months. We're pushing 2,000 books so far. If you have read the book, I'd love your review on Amazon. But our launch in Nashville is at what's called the Vault. It's inside or underneath Gibson Guitar. It's a really cool private space. It's limited to how many people can be there, and I'm fortunate to have some singer-songwriters support me that are coming out for that. So that's February 9th, and we're excited to make that our nationwide launch.
And is it ever a challenge for you, Matt? You seem to be a person who, if the horizon is here, your horizon is out there. You don't seem to be a person who limits your possibilities.
You're saying I can't be satisfied?
No, I'm not. No,
You're right.
Not saying that. But is that its own life lesson to learn? I mean, is that part of it, that we as people tend to limit our potential?
Well, I think part of the premise of the daily climb is, for example, goal setting. Google says 8% of people reach their New Year's resolution, and only 10% of those 8% keep it for the whole year. So I say heck with goals, and how's a different way to look at it? And I'm big on vision, which is just being able to imagine what something will look like in the future. Is that a year from now or 5 years from now? So if you picture what that person looks like, who do you want to be? And then you just wake up every day and grow into that person's shoes. That's, to me, the daily climb. It's instead of saying, I want to lose 20 pounds, or I'm going to do this by this date, which typically doesn't work, or you don't keep the weight off. It's, who do I want to be? What's the vision of that person? And I'm going to act like that today.
Well, you are a gift today, so thank you so
Yeah, my
much for
pleasure.
the book. It's The Daily Climb. You can get it on Amazon. He also has his own website, matthullander.com. Buy the book, read it, and then write a review. Our own Chattanooga, Matt Hullander. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Julie.
We like to think that the patient experience is unique in that the way we will take care of you. We treat each